So if, in an effort not to choose the exact same one, I will just pick like a chocolate royale. I feel like anything with chocolate, you can't go bad. How about Jared?
Hi, everyone. Jared Hager with the U.S. Department of Justice.
Your volume isn't, your voice isn't working, Jared.
Of a settlement agreement between the United States. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Sorry, my voice is a little bit shot because I was at the basketball game on Saturday. And I'm out of practice on screaming loud. What ice cream would I be? You know, I'm representing the United States, so I'll go something red, white, and blue. They used to have those like Screamer missile pops that would be sold in the ice cream trucks that, you know, do the same song. And I'm not sure who has gone yet and who hasn't. Judith, have you gone? Have we learned your ice cream?
I have not. Thank you, Jared. I'm Judith Mowry, she, her pronouns. And I think mint chocolate chip, mint for the coolness, and, you know, chocolate, just always chocolate. And I will call on Barb.
Ta-da! Here's Barb. Hi, my name is Barb. I use she, her pronouns. The kind of ice cream I would be, since we are getting creative now, would be from 31 Flavors, which I am sad is gone off of Powell. A banana fudge royale with whipped cream and no nuts. And I will pick Tia? Yeah, you went.
How about Tia?
Tia?
Yes, I went.
Okay, has anybody not gone?
Who did you say? Yeah, Mary Claire.
Mary Claire, of course, sorry.
Yeah,
Claudia.
thanks a lot, Barb. Yeah, you know, being picked as the last in the team, thanks. I'm Mary Claire Buckley from the Police Bureau, and as a chocoholic, I would say chocolate chip.
Is it my camera?
And I guess that's it. So.
Go back into the bags.
Okay, well, before we get
Claudia didn't go, did she? Claudia, did you go? You did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said cookies and cream. That's been my favorite.
Well, at this time, I would like to present our value statement and a little bit about what do we got on here? And our PCCEP agreement. So, Claudia, do you have those available?
Yeah, I can bring up the values real quick. 1 second. Would you like me to share them on the screen or just add the link to the chat?
Say yes, please.
Yes, please, to both.
Got it.
ADA.
So these are the PCCEP values. There we go. Oh, sorry, I didn't know if you wanted me to say them. Okay, so the PCCEP values, these are the values that were revised this year, and they go like this. So listen actively and respectfully, share airtime, be present and open to new information / perspectives, assume positive intent, respect each other, respect the group, speak your own truth, communicate directly, honestly, and respectfully, ask questions to clarify, call out bias, and be okay with ambiguity.
Thank you, Claudia.
Okay, well, I'm going to turn the next agenda item over to Barb, which is to provide an update on the houseless liaison position and what their projects are.
Okay. So I'm just gonna do it without video. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm gonna take that as a no.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, the mic's on. They just didn't answer.
Well,
I can hear
I
you.
can hear you,
Go
okay.
ahead. Thank you, guys. Hey, so I think most of us know that Stephanie Harrow, the homeless liaison for the Portland Police, left as of, I'm not 100% sure, but let's go with the beginning of this year. And in the news article about it, it talked about basically 5 different areas that she sort of had started, but needed to be, you know, with a suggestion of how are they going to be picked up? Are they going to be worked on, or are they going to just sit? And I know the answer to one of them from talking to Casey, and I'm not sure if we know the answers to the other ones, but I just wanted everyone, I was going to read them through and just let everybody know what they were. And if there's somebody on the line that has an answer, that would be freaking awesome. I didn't just say that. Okay, so, and they're all really important ones. So the first one is reclassifying crimes against people experiencing homeless as hate crimes to aid prosecution, reducing arrests related to failure to appear warrants, dedicating counter shelter beds for use by Portland PD, developing an enhanced drug court system to prevent jailing, which I think with Measure 110, I'm not sure where all that even lands. Training Portland PB personnel on the Portland street response and the interplay with Portland PD, which I believe Casey has picked up. So does anybody have any updates on any of those things?
Yeah, so hey, it's Casey. You're right that we are interfacing with Portland Street Response on a biweekly basis. Myself and Robin Burrick, the program manager, are meeting consistently with some of our other partners as well, just to go over updates and finding efficiencies and making sure that we're all collaborating and partnering in the best way. I did get an update today from our Fiscal Services Division. It's now called the Business Services Group, or BSG, within the Police Bureau. I was inquiring as to the current status of that vacant position and did learn that as of right now, that position is unfunded within the current budget, but that the Chief's office does have an interest and is trying to prioritize having the position refunded and then also filled at some point. However, they're having to go through an exercise to actually try to find money within the current budget to actually do that funding, which they're working on currently.
Awesome. How timely. Thank you, Casey. If there's any point in time that you know that it's going to go before council and you want people to go testify, we've got people that would do it. So let us know, please.
Yep, I will do that. As soon as I hear anything on that front, I'll definitely let you know and loop this group in.
Great. Anyone else? Going once? All right. Thank you, Amy. Oh wait.
Okay, well, now we're going to move into our main item of tonight, which is to learn about BOAC and the folks that work there. And I'm excited to hear all about it. So Who would like to start?
Well, I'll
The
kick
call.
things off.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you again, everyone. I'm Bob Causey, BOEC director, and when we were approached to join with this group tonight, the real curiosity is getting a dispatcher or a call taker's perspective, and that's why Laura is here with us tonight, so she can really give her perspective on the agenda. The basic questions, I guess, or what does a dispatcher's shift look like? What is the dispatcher's demeanor and how does it affect the responders? And of course, some commentary on the new dispatch system, which is ProQA, which we just implemented, which is a new call answering protocol for medical calls and fire calls. So really that first question, Laura, what does your shift look like? And maybe you can talk across the board, because I know I see you a fair amount, which means day shift, but I know that there's all kinds of other shifts. So I'll give you the podium.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I finally moved up in seniority to have a day shift. I'll kind of run through a general day in the life of. We get to work, we come in and check our schedules to see what we're assigned to do at any moment. We sign up for our breaks and lunches. Our start times start on the odd hour, every 2 hours, starting at 5 a.m., going until 11 p.m. or 2300 that we talk. Our schedules can change throughout the day depending on illnesses or if people go home, how many people are coming in and our numbers. I am a call taker only and a coach, so I know where I'm going to be all day sitting on one side of the room. Other people who are dispatchers and coaches have rotations through different dispatches, either fire, police, or our service desk, as well as coming over to the call taking side. And we also have to monitor text from call taking, because we do have text to 911 now. Every day is different, so you never know what to expect when you walk in. Things change. And depending on if you're a coach, like I have a trainee right now, so I'm focused on getting him to our final phase, which he should be entering next week, and I'm very excited for him. And that's kind of the basic day-to-day. Things fluctuate a little bit depending on if there's large emergencies that come up, where we have to dedicate dispatchers to a channel, or if we have a huge influx of calls. When we have fires, we get a lot of spikes in calls that come in, or a big incident that's witnessed by a large amount of the public. We have a lot of different spikes through the day for different types of calls.
So as far as, and I don't want to take anyone's time to ask questions, I'm just going to kind of run through what I saw on the agenda. As far as demeanor goes, Laura, how do you see a dispatcher's demeanor having an impact on first responders?
I did look ahead at this, so I took a few notes because I do think it has a huge effect on our situation, how we portray it to our partner agencies. As the call taker side of things, I need to accurately portray the information that's given to me. I need to paint that actual picture of what the caller is telling us that's going on in a way that my dispatcher can understand it, and then relay it again to, police officers, PSR staff, fire, medical, or anybody who's going out to deal with a specific incident. If we don't paint that accurate picture, a lot of things are imagined that may or may not be true. If I ask a specific question, I can't just decide that the caller wasn't telling me the truth. I need to actually say, they said yes to this or no to this, or they said, well, I'm not sure, but this is what I thought it was, because that can make people's perceptions going into a situation change greatly, depending on what type of situation it was. We also have to make sure that we're giving accurate locations, because depending on what type of situation, if it's a large brush fire, if it's somebody with a weapon, safety and how to get into a location is important. How to get to somebody who's fallen and broken a leg. I had somebody up on top of a roof of a 15-story building today, so I had to make sure, give accurate details on how to get to him, what type of equipment we're going to need, passes to elevators and what floor to get off on. to access. And also we need to accurately portray what we've told the caller, any type of pre-arrivals, be it medical, fire, first aid, or even if it's to try and de-escalate a situation. I know that I relayed today, I was on the call with a domestic violence person who had called in, and I needed to relay information that I was, she didn't feel safe at the moment, and I was just going to listen. And if she had to disconnect quickly, it was because of her safety. And then I was actually able to update it when the subject had left and give it a good description of the vehicle, direction of travel, and license plate number. So it's just very important to paint that picture, and there's so much that goes into being able to do that.
All right, and then give you some opportunity for commentary on the new dispatch system, or ProQA, and I also have a couple other questions to kind of generate some thought, and then allow some folks to ask questions as well.
Well, today was our 2-week mark, so that's a great thing for us to accomplish. And coming back in after having been lucky enough to have the weekend off, we still had some new updates, and we're still tweaking the system a little bit, just to make sure we have the right responses going and that our systems interact together with our new ProQA system as well as our CAD system efficiently, and so that we can all maneuver and use the resources from the new information that we get quickly. And so it's hard for a lot of us, having been very proficient in our old system, to have to learn this new language, but I think it's a good challenge for us, and learning new things always builds our brains. So we're doing that together, and I think it's actually made people talk amongst ourselves a little bit more, support each other a little bit more, which has been very nice to see. And I'm still learning it, so so that's good. It's a good thing.
2 weeks in. So very quickly, I'd like to describe what it is. ProQA is stands for Professional Quality Assurance. And when our call takers would answer the phone for a medical call or a fire call, they would go to a triage card set and go through and find the correct card and ask questions that are on that card. With ProQA, it is a worldwide system that's used in literally around the world. But a lot of 911 centers in the United States, it's not 911 in other countries, but 999 in Great Britain, for example, or lots of other options that are around, are using the same system in their own languages. So it's really fascinating to see how widely it's used. But really what it is detailed triage that interfaces in our computer system. So when a medical call comes in, the call taker will launch ProQA, and it begins populating the questions that the call taker asks. So everything is very scripted, it's very professional, very consistent. And that's important because we're then able to really provide a consistent level of service across the board. And this is something that a number of years ago, I say BC before Kazi, that started BOEC down the path, and that was Multnomah County EMS, who was really pushing for us to move forward with the ProQA system. And then in those conversations decided to add fire and potentially even down the road adding a police component to that. But that's definitely down the road. And we're just beginning some of the research on that and some of the conversations. All that to say, it's only been 2 weeks. And our call takers are now all in the same position. Some of them who've been there for 25 years, we just had a retirement over the weekend, and there for 30 years, who've done it the same way their entire career. And now we're asking them to change. So it really brings everyone to kind of that level playing field. Laura mentioned that she's a coach. She's one of our trainers. And it kind of put her in the position of being the trainee, and still is at this point. But Laura, I also wanted to ask you, kind of describe your experience as a coach and what that looks like on any given day.
It varies a lot depending on where my trainee is in their progress. So I can kind of start at the beginning. I've taught in academy, so I've had them from day one, not knowing anything about us, maybe a little snippet. They have an idea of what 911's about. So teaching them the basics on how to open a call mask and how to verify an address, and all the way through the final stages of my trainee. So phase one is after they finish the basic academy. The basic academy is in the classroom with an instructor and a lot of helpers. And then they go to the state academy. And then they usually come out on the floor with a coach for, there's 5 different phases. So the phase 1 and phase 2 are pretty basic. The coach is sitting right next to them. They're parroting a lot. So we're telling them what to ask and what to say. And they're just getting the hang of being able to talk, type, and think at the same time. I know it seems like a little easy for a lot of us, but it is a very new skill to being able to ask a question, hear what the caller is saying, interpret it, type it at the same time as you're thinking forward to your next question. And then when they hit phase 3, at the kind of the center of their training is when we're starting to let the reins go a little bit, starting to sit a little bit farther away, having them try and think through some of their own questions to look for answers on their own. And then when phase 4 comes along, we're sitting away from our trainee. So we're sending a lot of messages via the computer. We're expecting them to use their resources to find answers on their own, use their cohorts that are sitting around them if you have a question that you just can't remember off the top of your head, and use our supervisors as well, being comfortable if you have a question that completely stumps you, asking, calling up to the supervisors and saying, hey, I need some direction on this if it's something completely new, because we get those still, even after being here almost 16 years, I get those questions that are stumpers and need a little direction with myself. And then they go into our final phase, which is phase 5, which my trainee should be starting on Monday, where it's a week, 20 hours of call taking, where they're spot monitored by supervisors. So they're basically supposed to be working independently and being able to ask questions and refer callers to proper agencies if needed on their own, without a coach having to sit right next to them and give them the direction. And then after my trainee finishes and certifies in call taking, he'll go on and do his basic police dispatch academy. And then he'll come out on the floor and do phase 1 and 2. And then usually during the middle of phase 3, they'll do an advanced police dispatch academy. And then they'll come back on the floor after learning some more advanced techniques, such as, hotter calls, the pursuits and perimeters that need to be set up through dispatch. Then they'll come back and they'll finish through a phase 5 also. And then after completing call taking and police dispatch, and then they move on into fire dispatch, and they have another basic fire academy, and then they have the steps that they go through also. And finally, when they finish phase 5 of fire dispatch, they'll be a senior dispatcher and certified in all disciplines.
All right, thank you, Laura. And, all of that takes 1.5 to 2 years to get all the way through the entire training program. Laura's piece as a call-taking coach is that first, roughly 6 months, depending on the trainee. But then it goes from there where in police dispatch training, that trainee is only training part of the time in police dispatch. The other part of the time, they're certified call taker, and they're actually helping us with our 911 calls. That way we're not keeping them in that training mindset constantly. They're actually able to spread their wings a little bit and feel more productive, I guess. Same thing when they're in fire dispatch training, they're certified as police dispatchers at that point and 911 call takers. So they still have to practice that on a regular basis. And then they're in fire dispatch training a good part of the time. So I know Melanie can speak to that. Have we missed anything? No. All right. And then just one other question that I have for Laura, and then allow all of you to ask whatever questions you have. of any of us. Tell us your experience with Portland Street Response.
I really enjoy having it there as an option. Sometimes the public has a little bit of misinformation on when we can send them out and when we can't. I think everybody's still learning about that. So if we have somebody who's threatening to fight with people or, you know, running in front of cars and things, that's not something that we can take the time to have the Portland Street Response come to, because they get stacked up with calls and may not be able to respond as quickly as an officer to prevent somebody from harming themselves or someone else. But it has been a great tool. I've set up many calls, and I really like that we've expanded our area, and we are getting quite a few requests to expand the area further, or they think, oh, it can just have them come all the way out to North Portland to help us. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but we don't respond out that far just yet. But it has been a nice tool for us to help educate people, as well as learning new criteria and having that additional resource to go out there and deal with some of our chronic people that we get calls on, you know, who just need some direction or some help or other resources to be able to solve their problem or help with their mental health or homeless situations. I think it's been a great tool for us to be able to use, and I look forward to it expanding.
All right, thank you. And that's all the prepared questions that I have. I'm certain that some of you have questions, so fire away.
That was wonderful. Thank you all so much. I'm going to start off with probably the first question out to the to Bob. You might be, or any of you, is that is anyone asked if they're on like Medicaid or Medicare, or if they know who their healthcare provider is? Because I'm really trying to help folks get tapped into what already exists for the individual as far as next level of care opportunities. But I don't hear that conversation happening much around finding out what services they're already plugged into.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. And Melanie, I'll let you jump in if you have any additional information. That's not something that we do at this point. We are, and it's built within our strategic plan to develop a framework for a nurse triage program within BOEC, and whether that is something that's housed at BOEC or something that, you know, maybe we transfer a caller to a nurse. We don't know what that's going to look like yet because we haven't created the framework. But that is something that we're looking at. And in those cases, you know, the nurse who's providing that resource would be in a position to be able to ask those types of questions. You know, when we're accessed 911, it really is supposed to be for emergencies. So we don't allow, you know, any of the detail or in the weeds types of questions to get in the way of just providing a response. Oftentimes, we all know that people call 911 for non-emergencies, though. And they also call our non-emergency number. And we're in the business of, you know, not only answering the 911 calls, but about half of our call volume, or close to 500,000 of the telephone calls that we answer, are non-emergency, administrative, referral calls. And those are the types of calls that oftentimes keep us busy to a point that we're not able to answer 911 or the true emergencies as quickly as we'd like. So I kind of went a little beyond your question, but there you go.
No, that was great, because it really makes me know now that we need another layer so that people can kind of build like a pyramid of care. We really, I know the host state and a lot of folks have always wanted a true definition of person-centered care, which is what the ACA was built upon. And we're still fragmented as a system just based upon what our individual responsibilities are. But if we could line out what each one's limitations are, then we can build another layer of what's necessary to fill the gaps where your responsibilities end, where someone else could, you know, tap in. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, is to find out where everybody's responsibilities kind of begin and end with serving the public. So thank you. That was awesome. So
Amy,
anybody else have any questions?
Amy, I'd like to also talk a little bit about Multnomah County Health, Multnomah County Crisis Line. The
Awesome.
counselors there actually do ask questions about Medicaid, Medicare, about the state insurance, and they are also trying to connect people to services. And we do refer callers to Multnomah County Crisis. Multnomah County Behavioral Health Call Center is what their huge name is, but we will probably still call them Multnomah County Crisis Line. That is exactly the group who is capable. They are the hub of all of the mental health services for the county. So that's a place where they dig in and try to find out what other care options are available for the person, the family member, whomever is who is needing some crisis services.
Okay, so let me see, just real quick to make sure I understand that. If a call comes in that requires that service to be used, you guys will transfer it to the Multnomah County Crisis Line?
Thank you for giving me a chance to clarify. We will refer people, we warm transfer someone over who is experiencing suicidal ideation, suicidal threats. We also will transfer calls over where someone needs they may be having a mental health crisis they can't really describe. They know they need to talk to somebody. And since we don't have the luxury of that time, we will transfer those folks, warm transfer. So we are transferring them to another person. They're not, we don't hang up on them and hope that they can get through. We stay with them until we can get them to a counselor. Sometimes we are transferring, people will call because their child is suicidal, or they just don't know where to go with a mental health question. So we will warm transfer them to the crisis line. So we do warm transfers for emergencies, not for just general referral.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, I'm gonna, offer up, is there anyone else who has any questions they would like to ask?
Looks like Barb has a question. Do we dispatch for Gresham OSP? We dispatch for Gresham. Yes, we do. Police and fire. We also dispatch for Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. And in addition to that, two smaller rural fire districts within Multnomah County, Corbett and Sauvie Island. As far as OSP, no, we do not dispatch for them. They have their own dispatch center. The one for this area is located in Salem. Any other questions?
I had a couple questions. Let me just put my hand down because I don't want to forget. Mine are just more of curiosity, like what kind of brought you guys into this work? And then also what kind of keeps you in, what makes you stay?
Well, I'll jump in first, and Laura, you can go. I was a firefighter in the Air Force Reserves, and a buddy of mine I was stationed with was a supervisor at the 911 center. This is the El Paso County Sheriff's Office in Colorado Springs, and I had mentioned that I was interested in a job. I had applied there. I didn't know that he worked there. And he told the manager to hire me next. And that's kind of how recruitment worked back then. This was way back. And, that got me into the profession. And, they say once you've hit about 5 years, you really have to soul search and determine, is this something I want to do? Because it's very meaningful work, but it's also very stressful, very taxing at times. It can really impact family life. It impacts you on a personal basis. There's a lot of things I still remember that are traumatizing and still have to talk about them from time to time. But, you know, once you hit that 5-year mark, there's something that really does seem to shift in a lot of people, and they decide they stay. Now, in some cases, like in mine, I started showing interest in moving into other roles, and moved from call taker through training, was a training coordinator. I was a PIO for a little while, public information officer for a while, a training manager, and then a director. And I was a director in Clackamas County for about 12 years, and then came here. So I stayed in the profession, but I also recognized, okay, I needed to kind of change my perspective a little bit. And Laura, I'll let you talk about your experience.
Okay, well, I kind of we all come from different backgrounds here. And I started off with the city in Parks and Recreation. And I had a few employees who actually started with me when they were young, 15 or so, and eventually became police officers. And I was looking for a change in my career, and a couple of them had say, hey, you know, we saw this opening, we think you might be good, so why don't you take a look at that? And I did want to stay within some type of service to the community, be it face-to-face, over the phone. I found, you know, my niche here it does take kind of a special personality to be able to roll with all the different changes that we have, and not knowing what your day is going to be like is difficult for some people. They like the structure. We do have structure here, but you never know what's going to come at you next. And it is true, you hit that 5-7 year mark and you start questioning things and thinking about things. And I've just, you know, really appreciated this work that I do. And I think it has benefited my friends and family and my son, and seeing the impact of my service-based career has spurred him to want to do service-based. So I think that just encourages me to see that I'm setting forth a good example for other people to want to serve their communities also, be it in different volunteer routes or things like that. And then I think also just my stubbornness of wanting to stay has kept me here for a long time. I told you guys when she got me, you were kind of stuck with me. So I think, and I love all of our employees here. I mean, we seem like family to each other, and we'll stand up for each other, but we fight like brothers and sisters too. So you put a bunch of us in the same room, but push comes to shove, we're there to support each other in our community. And I don't know of anybody here who doesn't want to do that. So I think just being around that type of person really just encourages you to keep going, and seeing all the new faces coming in and wanting to have that public service life also is very inspiring.
How about you, Melanie?
So I joined BOEC as a training manager. I took Bob's job, and I came from the city of Phoenix. I'm also a longtime city employee. I enjoy working in the community in this type of role. I've been here for 15 years now, and Laura mentioned it. These are some of the most interesting and challenging kinds of opportunities we have here. Every day it's something new. I get to do work with people that is really important. I'm also the recruiter, and I talk to a lot of people who want meaningful work, and this is it. So us doing a good job makes a huge difference in our community, and most people don't know it. When we're doing our best job, no one knows it. It's still a thrill to come to work. We would love to have more staff so that it was easier, so calls wouldn't hold. We take those calls very seriously, any holding call, but I get a chance to work with Laura and Bob and all of the coaches. So it's a great place to be. It's kind of fun to hang out here, and they have the air conditioning here, and they pay me to be inside in the air conditioning, and that's a great gig.
All right. Tia, looks like you put a question in the chat. Does the 911 call taker decide when a call is a mental health crisis and then dispatch Portland Street response? We can go with that question first. Melanie, you want to take that one, or Laura?
I can jump in there. So we have a criteria that's been laid out for us to decide if it can go to Portland Street Response or if it needs to go to a different type of service. If it does go to the Portland Street Response, we have a specific call type that we use to put it in their queue. And so we send it over to the dispatcher, who then puts it into their queue. And then they have access to our computer system to see which calls that they have holding. And I'm not sure how they prioritize which ones that they pick to go to first, or if it's just a time one that comes in. So I can refer that part off.
Right now, their call volume, they can respond pretty easily right now. But yes, it's based on what is described to us, more so than call types. And we try to find the best fit. Also, PSR response area is geographically located. So some folks, they are only in Lentz now, and Lentz in the surrounding Lentz area. So some folks may be requesting PSR, but it's outside of the response area. So, you know, we always have to triage. Some folks will ask for a service that maybe when we go through the triage questions, the service that they're requesting is not the best fit. So sometimes that happens with PSR. It often happens with medical people just don't quite know. So they present what's happening and we ask some questions and we send the best service that we can.
And the only piece I don't think we answered was, will there be another avenue in contacting PSR that is not through 911? Really, it is 911 or through our non-emergency number. It's the same call takers answering both of those lines. The difference is 911 is a prioritized number. And if you call that, you'll get through to one of our call takers first. Not to say that, well, oftentimes I've heard actually when I'm sitting in my office where people will call 911 and the call taker will say, I'm sorry, this is not a 911 emergency. I'm going to transfer you to the other line. And then they have to wait even longer. Some people try to circumvent so they can get service faster by calling with a non-emergency on 911. And we have to push back on that. So I think I over answered that question.
I can add a little bit. I'm working with PSR right now, representing our bureau and supporting them. And we know that it's very, very frustrating for people to hold. And so the question is a good one. It's timely, asking if there'll be another way that people can get a hold of PSR. This program is built on the Cahoots model in Eugene. And one of the benefits about having it connected to dispatch is in the event that additional response is needed, because we are dispatching and we are controlling the board, so to speak. If something changes, we can send response right away without further delay. And that's a real benefit that we would not have if the caller went through another agency, because they'd have to call us. And so even though I think it's actually more, it's more beneficial for response if people go through 911. That's not to say that that's the only way, but right now that's the way that seems to make most sense.
Did we answer your questions, Tia?
I do want to ask one more about that. We just talked about mental health crisis line, and how do you know if you're going to warmly refer them to mental health crisis or Portland Street Response? Is it due to suicidal situation where it's imminent? Or would that be 911?
I was going to say, I can jump in on that a little bit. A lot of times the calls that we're sending to PSR are from either a passerby in the community or a business that's watching this from across the way. And so it's more of an action that's being observed, where a lot of times when we transfer to crisis, we're talking to that person or a person that's connected with them closely, so that they may be in the same room with the person who's having the mental health crisis. And a lot of those calls that we transfer to crisis line, they're inside their home or they're inside of a building where or they don't quite meet the PSR response for a street response, or it's just a little bit different information that they're looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go.
What other questions?
I have one. It's kind of an elephant in the room question, but it does speak to something that you all mentioned in terms of hitting the wall and needing to have a moment of deep reflection and to determine whether or not this is still the job. And so I know from having been a nurse, there's times when you question your suitability for the moment. And sometimes you question your suitability for beyond the moment. How do you help people first recognize that maybe if they're in that moment of questioning, maybe they do need to move on to something different?
Oh, I love it. That's not an elephant, in my opinion. We've had to have those conversations with folks many times, and we have a number of components in place. So hopefully, we're bringing in the right people. For example, when we conduct the recruitment, they go through a series of testing, and Melanie can definitely speak more to this than I can, but a series of testing. One component is a computerized test that checks for kind of short-term memory skills, their typing speed. There's a lot of components in there. Really, it's like a little mini dispatch test.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they pass all of that, they come in for an interview. They come in for a second interview and then are forwarded on for background investigations, then tie directly into psychological evaluations. And the psychological evaluations, there's something that we're really looking for there. That is their ability to be resilient. That's one of the big components. Their ability to get along well with others. I mean, it's a high stress environment. You have people next to you in their own high stress environments. It's really easy and very commonplace in 911 centers for people to lash out against each other when they're really not the enemy, but they feel it in that moment. That's kind of human nature. But we try to find people that really have that level of resiliency so that they would be less inclined to lash out or to be unprofessional in their dealings with, with a caller or a police officer as they're dispatching or any of those things. But we also have internal components. There's a huge, I mentioned the 2-year training program.
Yeah.
There's a system in place called MAPS. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically a peer support for the trainees as they're going through training. Once a trainee certifies, there's a peer team that if you deal with a call that really has a negative impact on you, it triggers something in you. Maybe it's a background that was present in your family and all of a sudden this has been triggered. We allow call takers and dispatchers to have some time. It's called CISM time, or critical incident stress management time, away, just for the rest of that shift, typically, maybe the next shift as well. And then they come back. And during that time, a peer member reaches out to them to help them talk through whatever it is that they feel triggered by. We also, of course, encourage them to use EAP. We have a really good peer support program that, because of COVID, we couldn't roll it out the way we originally had intended. but an entity called Responder Life that provides training for all of our peer members. And it's a professional training. They bring in a really high caliber of information for our folks. And we're also right now in the process of investigating whether or not we can implement a chaplain program and have something along those lines as well. So there's a lot of resources for our folks. But Laura mentioned also that, you know, they're family. Having each other as a resource is paramount, someone else who understands. But also we encourage folks to get away, to not only associate with your friends at work. You can tell I'm kind of passionate about this because I really do want my folks to have resiliency. I want them to stick around, but I want them to be healthy in the process, not just to stick around for the sake of sticking around. So did I miss anything,
Which
Laura?
is human nature. Yeah. It's human nature to not want to lose something that works. But those are the kind of answers I was looking for. And I'm really curious as to, in terms of the peer support training, is this something that's cyclical so that you have, you know, if not a seasonal, but at least every so many periods you have a refresher, because resiliency also demands adaptability. And so, you know, you might have a good skill set for the problems that came prior to COVID, but now that we've gone through COVID, a lot of us have had to retool our, you know, our coping mechanisms. So
absolutely,
for a new set of problems. So yeah.
And during COVID, our call takers and dispatchers had to wear masks while they're honestly having someone screaming at them.
Yeah.
Have someone scream at you and you have to wear a mask and talk to them and try to communicate. That is just, it's crazy. But it's something that we required for their own physical safety.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine having to talk to someone on the worst day of their lives. And you're in a position to really have a positive impact. It may not be able to fix it. You may not be able to make it all better, but you're impacting that individual. And that's what makes this career so cool. Yeah. We're helping people in their times of desperation. And we also get to tell cops where to go.
And you're helping yourselves too. That's the key. Okay, thank you.
Laura, were you gonna jump in there?
I was gonna say, yes, the masks were a burden, but it's also helped us learn different ways to communicate. I know I taught we called it the COVID class, the first academy that came in where we all had to wear masks, and trying to read people's expressions from just their eyes was very difficult. So it was hard to make sure that the new trainees were understanding all the information and just not shaking their heads yes to everything. So I think it's helped us become a little bit more empathetic in a way and ask some more questions and really listen to the true meaning of what the person is saying.
Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, I do see a question. Yeah, it looks like Tia, you put another question in there. Bridges to change.
It's just information.
Okay, thank you.
I volunteer for Rahab Sisters.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
I'm familiar with them.
Well, you know, it is 7 o'clock. I think we're done at 7. So I just want to thank you all on behalf of BOEC. It really is a pleasure chatting with all of you. Once things open up post-COVID, and it looks like maybe by the end of summer, we'll be allowed to have visitors in our center. We'll see. We'd love to have visitors. We love to give tours, really, really enjoy that. And we also love to have folks who want to commit a little bit more time to sitting along for a while during a shift. You can sit with a call taker or a dispatcher or both. It depends on how much time you have. And we'd love to have you there and would welcome it.
Well, thank you, Bob and Melanie and Laura. Your information was awesome. It really helped me understand how you guys work and the hard work you do in our community. And so, yeah, if you guys, you're always welcome to stick around, hang around, listen to the committee, or, you know, you're free to go on about your day. If you decide you want to do a chaplain program, look me up. I've been an MCDC chaplain for 25 years.
Okay, excellent.
At
Thank
the
you.
county jail. I just haven't been able to go in since COVID, and I miss it dearly. So yeah, just jingle me sometime. So thank you.
Thank you all very much. I'm going to go grab some dinner. Have a good night.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So on that note, is there any other conversations or topics folks would like to bring forward? Public comment time will include whatever subject you think you might want to bring up. No, huh? Nothing?
Well, I'm new. My brain is still trying to acclimate. I guess I do have a question maybe you all could answer. And I wasn't able to find a clear answer anywhere. So I know that everything, having worked in the city, you always have a pilot and a trial. So I understand why the PSR has a limited limited implementation right now in theory, but I don't know actually why and what the plans are. Where can I find some more information?
I can tell them, or it's on their website.
Okay. Where do I go? I mean, is there a place to dig a little deeper?
Okay, the information I guess is on their website.
Okay.
Who's they?
Sorry, the Portland Street Response.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then if you just keep coming to the meetings, you'll catch on pretty quick. They're just kind of getting the ball rolling and getting started. So this expansion is relatively new. And so everyone's just trying to adjust to what's happening. So yeah, stick with us. Art, go ahead. You're next.
Yeah, so my thing is on like, what's the response going to be for Portland Street Response when the city starts to start clearing campsites? You know, it's a big question I'd like to see because, you know, a lot of things have been happening and a lot of people think it's very unconstitutional that this is going to happen to people who live and experience homelessness on the streets in their tents when there's really no other shelters or anything that they can go to, or there's outreach teams letting people know that like, hey, there's housing opportunities. I mean, we've got like 16,000 open apartment complexes in Portland right now. We have about 6,000 to 8,000 people that are experiencing homelessness right now. Why isn't there some outreach teams? Why isn't Portland Police like talking to folks of what organizations they could go to or resources that are out there? You know, I mean, that's a big question that I'd like to ask this group of like, what support are they? Are they on support of like, let's clear campsites, or are we on the support of we need more outreach and the police actually building a very authentic relationship with people on the streets and not, you know, criminalizing them?
Very, very important question. And the folks running Portland Street Response aren't here per se, but I'm going to put it out to anyone in the room who has knowledge about how individuals are resourced. Like, does the police have any information they share with the, folks out at campsites? Like, is there a little more interaction going on that we're unfamiliar with?
The BHRT team.
Or the BHRT teams,
But I mean, you guys are PCCEP. You guys are the community, the police on the activities that they do. I want to know, do you as PCCEP back the Portland police and the street responses that are going out and attacking these campsites and clearing them and taking their stuff? Or is there another way that you're building something out?
About the settlement agreement. Okay, Art, this is a really important topic that I would like to have further discussion on. The PCCEP is here because of the settlement agreement and the folks that are being, I'm going to say handled through the police, over policed with the mental health. Everything is connected and interconnected, and I think we need to have folks that can answer your question invited so we can have further conversation. Because I'm concerned about the sweeps host situation as well. Because I have a lot of people out there that I'm connected with that I'm concerned about. So, what do you guys think if we can maybe have a session where we have someone who can have a conversation? Judith, what do you think? Is this a possibility to incorporate?
Sure, we could totally invite the folks who are doing the homeless liaison from the mayor's office. We could invite, folks who are right up work. We could Mark from Housing for Everyone. So we could definitely get some folks here. We could decide who would be the best to do that. And I'm unaware of the role of police in the moving of the camps. Do you know, Chase or Casey, if police officers are deployed to do that?
This is Casey. I can jump in a little bit. So honestly, in that process, I'm not thoroughly well versed in it. Obviously, that's not something that the BHU is typically involved in. But what I am aware of is the fact that this is part of the HUCRP program, which is the Homelessness and Urban Camping Impact Reduction Program, which is run out of City Hall. It's not a police bureau initiative at all. And when camp cleanups are proposed to be done, it's as a result of HUCRP getting referrals from community members and other concerned folks as far as safety concerns regarding camps, and it's prioritized due to life safety issues and whatnot. And that's how camps get designated to be cleaned up. And as far as police involvement, it comes after outreach workers go out to the sites days in advance of the cleanups, after they've been posted, to try to connect people with resources. And then as it occurs on the day of the cleanup, police are simply on scene on the periphery, just as a safety component, really. We're not actively involved. We're not running people. We're not trying to make arrests or anything like that. We're simply there on the periphery just to ensure everybody's safety. That's generally our involvement, to my knowledge, as far as I'm aware of the process myself. But there are other people in the police bureau that could probably speak more eloquently or more in depth about it if need be.
That's my understanding of the role as well. Do you have anything to add to that, Mary Claire? Got to give her a minute to unmute. Okay, well, she might not be right there. So yeah, we can invite, so we can definitely invite people for the next meeting, Amy.
To that, is there any more public comment, or do you want to have that discussion?
Let's keep that on, our whiteboard, and I want to see if there's any more public comment or public input, and then we can work on planning next meetings, because that's towards the end of the agenda today.
7-11.
Hmm?
7-11.
So is there, did that help Art kind of clear up things?
Yeah, because it's been pretty hard to get all of them into the same room with each other. With the Joint Office of Homeless Services. We have a meeting coming up tomorrow as well, and I'm going to bring up that same question: is the Joint Office of Homeless Services, following what Mayor Willer has done with these sweeps of campsites and it being unconstitutional. In a lot of things. And, there's a suit going on between 4 or 5 people about their stuff being taken while sweeps were happening, So I just like to see all these groups in the same, area and really letting PCCEP know what they're doing, really let them know what they're doing. So you all have, huh? Yeah, it's all about investing into the community that we have that are still on the streets. And I really like to get some kind of support of you guys support this, you don't support this, but really listen to what they're talking about, because each one comes at it at a different direction. And it just sickens me that it's happening, that it's happening to our folks. And we talk about mental health, we talk about addiction, we talk about all these little behavioral health pieces, but how can we provide them the right services if all of them are talking in different circles?
Absolutely agree with you. And I think it's an important conversation to have as part of our, you're right, as part of our role as behavioral health community support. Yeah, I did not like learning that my people's stuff was taken clear out in North Portland where you can't even get a bus to. Yeah, I was really upset to hear some things. So I'm with you. I don't want to see people dismantled because they are houseless. But we do have a responsibility, though, to keep everything clean and free of garbage and free of, contaminants. So we have to be able to be negotiable on this. That's what I believe is there's got to be a compromise to where everybody benefits. So let's have further conversation on this subject, and we can invite the HUCIRP.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll get used to saying it.
And I'll do the invites. How about that?
And then we'll get you on the list, Art, and we'll just keep this conversation going until maybe we can get enough people in the room from these different aspects of our serving communities. So I'm with you.
Thank you very much, Amy, and thank you guys very much for allowing me to bring this issue to your group tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Art. Appreciate all your work. Okay, well, on that note, is there anyone else who'd have any questions or anything you'd like to share? We could always leave this as, what would you like to, what's important to you to see on the next agenda or agendas? Because we meet every month, so we don't necessarily have to do 1 month at a time. We can plan out a couple of months in advance too.
Well, we were gonna ask Art about July, but we haven't, so we can't do it this way.
Sounds like we're all melted.
Okay.
No, we're not. I haven't even talked yet.
Barb, were you going to talk?
Yeah, she's going to talk. I'm just
Okay.
messing with her. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, so do we have stuff for the next agenda? Or nobody wants to come up with ideas? We're just gonna lay it on what?
We're gonna invite that group.
Listening to the Holy Spirit.
No, we're gonna lay it on the group. I mean, yeah, ask the group.
Trying. So,
okay, well,
we do not have a plan for the beginning of July, and it's a week into July almost. It's, I think. I'm not sure, looking at the calendar.
When is July 4th?
I know, that's what I want to look at. but I don't.
Does anyone know real quick what day of the week July 4th is on?
Sunday,
Okay. Okay.
So
which
it's
will
a-
mean the
so-
1st, the 5th will be the day that the city's closed on Monday. So we'll be open on the regular Tuesday.
Okay.
so
Okay.
it'll be on the 6th.
So what does everybody think about inviting the HUCRIP and yes, she's in the background. Some of the folks from there and maybe some of the folks from Home for Everyone Coordinating Board or whatever, just
Okay, all right, now Barb has something to say. Okay. I love you, Art. And I think that it would be more appropriate. I'm saying this as a community member because I am not a member of PCCEP. I think it would be more appropriate for the Behavioral Health Subcommittee to come up with, a letter and take a stand on what's going on and how it's going, and how it's happening.
you know about
Art-
AMSAC? So
Excuse me? Did I say AMSAC?
no, but the Behavioral
Okay,
Health
so-
Advisory Committee is what we're called, so.
It's okay. Oh my God. So anyway, back to what I was trying to say. Art Senior, you have access to all those people. So bringing them here, I'm not sure exactly what that's going to do. Are we going to educate the people who are here and then we can come together in writing something up? Or what are people thinking?
So what I've been doing is going across every, council and board and advisory that I sit with, right? And I want more people to know from all these different subcommittees that are happening around the city, the county, and the state to write statements on how they feel about this. And yes, I get what Amy is saying. Yes, there has to be this happy medium in the middle that we want to rejuvenize our downtown Portland. We need to clean up downtown, but we still need to have services for those people that are still on the streets. I get that. But there's this thing that the mayor did and just got it passed to just like go ahead and clean things up. I just want to, I just been doing this at every place that I sit. But also, this has also become a national. I'm on the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council's Board of Directors, Governance Committee, and I'm their current chair of their National Consumer Advisory Board. And we've been talking about this for the last 6 months because this has been happening. And we just ended up here in Oregon getting it rolled out just a little bit later than some of the East Coast folks. And now we have it here and they're starting to make their statement. So we've been making our statement on a national level. So I'm trying to do it here at a local level.
That's awesome, Art. That is awesome, Art.
It is a little bit of, it is a little bit educational for folks here on this, but also for the group to have their own statement saying, this is how we see it, but we know we still need to clean up our area. I get that.
The Border Patrol Services overseeing that contract with the downtown group.
I hear you, and we can invite Hucker for sure. And if anybody else has any ideas who we should invite for the conversation, let me know. I have ideas, and I was going to talk to Art about them. And that's a plan. Oh, I see half of your hand, Chase. Are you raising your hand?
Yeah. You're muted.
Resting my arm. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Darn it. Come on, say something. No, I'm kidding. Okay, then I guess hopefully everybody will be here July 6th and bring a buddy.
And we'll post the agenda depending on the responses we get from the folks we do the invite. This is the holiday, July, August, summer. We understand folks are busy. So we'll just keep everything on our website to notify everyone, and we'll get together and figure something out for July. So thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Had a wonderful night, and hope to see you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Art.